Get on your knees, boy. Time you learned how things work in my prison. Bull Harlan's voice booms across Oakwood Penitentiary's yard as he towers over a newly arrived black inmate. The white supremacist leader, his arms covered in swastika tattoos, has built his empire on breaking men like this. Surrounded by his crew of followers, Bull forces the newcomer down onto the concrete while 200 inmates watch in silence. You're nothing but a dog in here. Bull sneers, spitting inches from the man's face, and dogs eat scraps off the ground. He kicks a food tray across the yard. Now crawl over there and lick it clean. The kneeling man's hands remain perfectly still, his breathing controlled. For just a moment, his eyes flash with something that would terrify Bull, if only he knew what he was looking at. Bull doesn't know he's making the biggest mistake of his life. Oakwood Penitentiary houses 2,800 dangerous criminals. Statistics are brutal. 52% never make it out alive. Gang wars determine survival. Bull Harlan ruled 7 years. The man crawling isn't who Bull thinks. His name is Jax Thompson. For 5 years, fight fans chanted his nickname, the Shadow, because opponents never saw his finishing move coming. Jax's record, 52 wins, 0 losses, all knockouts, 48 first round, 36 under 30 seconds. The only UFC fighter banned for being too dangerous. His phantom strike happened in 0.3 seconds, shutting down nervous systems instantly. Deflect attacks, strike pressure points, temple tap, slow-motion cameras barely captured it. His final fight ended tragically. Miguel Sanchez died from brain trauma. Jax retired immediately, swearing never to fight again. Now he's serving 24 months for a bar fight, officially. The truth runs deeper. That fight was staged. Agent Miguel Sanchez volunteered for the beating. The victim was FBI agent Emily Hayes. Bull Harlan coordinates for the Vex cartel, moving 60 million in narcotics through 15 states. His cell serves as headquarters spanning 3 countries. Corrupt guards kept him untouchable. The FBI hunted this network for 4 years. Traditional methods failed because Bull operates through personal relationships. They needed someone inside who could endure abuse without breaking cover. They needed a shadow. Jack's cellmate, Mike Rivera, served 3 Iraq tours. The Marine noticed something different. Jax moved with precision, suggesting extensive training. His breathing indicated meditation practices. He treated injuries with medical techniques. "You're not like others," Mike observed. "Street fighters don't carry themselves like you." Jax stayed silent, staring at his hands. Those hands brought crowds to their feet and left opponents permanently damaged. They'd earned millions and cost a man his life. Now they serve a higher purpose. Maintaining cover meant enduring systematic humiliation. The Bull would strip away dignity piece by piece. Jax had to stay silent while called racial slurs and treated like an animal. Every day brought degradation designed to break his spirit. Agent Hayes operated as a prison counselor, his only outside connection. During therapy, she checked his state using coded conversations. "How are you adjusting?" she asked. "The shadow moves among them still?" Jax confirmed with the cover intact. His back bore a stunning tattoo depicting Jax's descent. Journey from hell to redemption. The artwork told his story. A warrior seeking salvation through service. Inmates glimpsed it during showers, whispering about its beauty. Bull controlled 40% of Oakwood through fear and psychological torture. His method broke new inmates through escalating humiliation until completely submissive. 7 years perfecting this process, never meeting resistance. The Aryan Brotherhood operated like a military. Ricky Pitbull Johnson served as a lieutenant, a former amateur boxer, proving himself through violence. Corrupt Warden Ellis ensured guards looked away during discipline. Bull's network extended beyond prison walls. Russian contacts supplied heroin. Mexican cartels provided distribution routes. American buyers paid premium prices. The operation generated massive profits from his sale. Jax understood the stakes. This wasn't about stopping one racist bully. The Vex cartel poisoned communities nationwide. Their drugs killed thousands annually. Taking down a bull meant saving countless lives. The psychological cost mounted daily. Jax meditated each night, centering himself through breathing techniques. He visualized the tattoo's meaning. Temporary suffering leading to redemption. Every humiliation brought him closer to justice. Mike watched his cellmate with growing respect. Most men would have broken after Bull's first assault. Jax absorbed punishment like a sponge, never retaliating, never complaining. The Marine recognized warrior discipline. Bull felt different about this inmate. Something in Jax's movement suggested training beyond street fighting. The way he absorbed punishment without crying out. His controlled breathing during beatings nagged Bull. Other inmates began whispering. The new guy moved differently. When guards shoved him, he maintained perfect balance. During exercise, his form was flawless. Veterans couldn't place what made him special. But Bull was too drunk on power to listen. He'd broken hundreds using the same methods: racial humiliation, physical abuse, psychological torture. No one had resisted. As Jax knelt cleaning spilled food while cameras recorded, Bull felt satisfaction. Bull had no idea he just humiliated the world's most dangerous fighter. Day 3 at Oakwood. Jax enters the cafeteria during lunch hour, carrying his metal tray past 300 watching inmates. The conversations stop. All eyes track his movement toward the food line. Bull Harlan sits at his usual table, surrounded by his crew of white supremacist followers. He's been planning this moment since yesterday, when he noticed something unsettling about the new inmates' controlled movements. "Showtime, boys," Bull announces, standing to his full 64 in height. Jax reaches for a portion of the prison slope, when Bull's massive hand slams down on his tray, sending food flying across the floor. The cafeteria falls silent, except for the clatter of metal hitting concrete. "Did I say you could eat, boy?" Bull's voice booms through the space. "New meat pays taxes in my house." Bull forces Jax to his knees in front of everyone. Phones appear from hidden pockets, already recording. "Strip to your underwear. Time for some proper training." Jax complies without resistance, revealing his championship-level physique and the intricate Jax's descent tattoo covering his back. Several older inmates gasp quietly. They recognize the artwork from old UFC promotional materials, but Bull is too focused on his performance to notice. "Look at this monkey trying to be human," Bull announces through a stolen PA system. "The humiliation is being broadcast throughout the entire facility. Time to learn your place." Bull dumps an entire tray of slop over Jax's head, the greasy mixture dripping down his face and chest. "Now bark like the dog you are while you clean this mess up. Use your mouth, no hands." Jax crawls across the cafeteria floor on his hands and knees, picking up food scraps with his teeth, while Bull's crew laughs and records everything. The videos immediately start uploading through contraband phones with Yotwerker Prison Monkey. But when Bull tries to force Jax's head into a nearby mop bucket, something happens. For exactly half a second, Jax's body shifts into a perfect fighting stance. Weight distributed, balance centered, muscles coiled. The movement is so fluid and practiced that Bull stops mid-motion. "What the hell was that?" Bull mutters, studying Jax's posture. The moment passes. Jax returns to submission, allowing Bull to complete the humiliation. But the seed of suspicion has been planted. Back in their cell, Mike tends to Jax's bruises with stolen medical supplies. "That wasn't a street fighter's reaction," Mike says quietly. "Who are you, really?" Week 1 begins Bull's systematic campaign to break Jax completely. The prison operates on a brutal hierarchy, and Bull has perfected his methods over 7 years of dominance. Day 4 brings the bathroom humiliation. Bull forces Jax to clean all gang toilets with his bare hands, while being called every racial slur imaginable. The Aryan Brotherhood members take turns spitting on him, calling him toilet boy and our personal cleaning monkey. "You sleep on the bathroom floor tonight," Bull declares. "Easy access to your workplace." Jax spends the night on cold concrete next to overflowing toilets, listening to inmates urinate inches from his head. The guards, paid off by Bull, pretend not to notice. Day 6 escalates to live streaming. Bull has established connections with white supremacist groups nationwide through his drug network. Now he broadcasts Jax's daily humiliation to thousands of online viewers. "Welcome to Monkey Training 101, Bull announces to his laptop camera, generating $6,000 in donations from racist viewers. He forces Jax to perform tricks, rolling over, playing dead, begging for food scraps like an animal. The chat explodes with racial hatred and demands for more extreme content. Bull feeds off the attention, his ego inflating with each donation notification. During one broadcast, Bull makes Jax crawl in circles while barking for 20 minutes straight. The video goes viral on white supremacist forums, spreading Jax's humiliation to tens of thousands of viewers worldwide. Bull's paranoia grows alongside his success. He researches Jax's background through corrupt prison connections, but the FBI has sealed most records. The lack of information about a simple bar fight makes Bull suspicious. "Why is his file so clean?" Bull asks Warden Ellis during their weekly drug coordination meeting. "Most street fighters have long rap sheets." Ellis shrugs. Maybe he's just unlucky. First-time offender, but Bull's instincts tell him otherwise. Something about Jax's controlled breathing during beatings, his perfect posture even while crawling, the way he absorbs punishment without breaking. It doesn't match any street fighter Bull has encountered. Day 8 brings the branding attempt. Bull heats a metal spoon handle in the machine shop, planning to carve property of Bull into Jax's back during shower time. "Hold him down," Bull orders his crew as they corner Jax in the communal showers. As the heated metal touches Jax's skin, he remains perfectly still for the first letter. But when Bull presses harder for the second mark, Jax makes a subtle shift in weight that causes Bull to lose balance and burn his own hand instead. "Accident," Jax says quietly, helping Bull regain his footing. Bull stares at him suspiciously. The movement was too controlled, too precisely timed to be coincidental. Week 2 brings physical escalation. Bull organizes daily sparring sessions where his 3 strongest gang members practice fighting techniques on Jax. The sessions are disguised as boxing training, but they're really systematic 3-on-1 beatings. Jax takes every punch without fighting back, but his defensive movements reveal professional-level training to anyone watching closely. He minimizes damage with subtle weight shifts, absorbs impacts at optimal angles, and maintains breathing control throughout the assault. Mike watches from the yard, his Marine training recognizing combat techniques far beyond street fighting. During one session, he notices Jax's perfect footwork, maintaining balance while being attacked from multiple angles. "That's not luck," Mike mutters to himself. "That's years of professional training." Bull's frustration mounts as Jax refuses to break. Most inmates would be begging for mercy by now, offering information, sexual favors, or complete submission in exchange for reduced abuse. Jax simply endures everything with quiet dignity. The shower accident becomes Bull's next escalation. He arranges for the water temperature to malfunction, sending 180-degree water through the pipes. When Jax showers alone, Jax's skin blisters immediately, but he doesn't scream. He doesn't even make a sound. He calmly steps out of the scalding spray and begins treating his own burns with makeshift first aid. Bull watches through security cameras, amazed and frustrated by Jax's pain tolerance. Agent Hayes conducts her mandatory counseling session during week 2, carefully checking Jax's psychological state without blowing either of their covers. The integration process seems challenging, she says, examining his visible injuries. The shadow moves among them still. Jax confirms his mission remains on track despite the escalating abuse, and he concerns about maintenance, equilibrium. Every step deeper into hell brings me closer to redemption. Hayes recognizes the coded reference to his Jax's descent tattoo. He's maintaining psychological stability by viewing his suffering as purposeful, but Bull's paranoia reaches a breaking point during week 3. He's been watching surveillance footage repeatedly, studying Jax's movements frame by frame. The way Jax absorbs punishment, his controlled breathing, his perfect balance, everything suggests combat training far beyond what any street fighter should possess. "I want a complete background check," Bull tells his outside contacts. "This boy is hiding something big. His investigation hits bureaucratic walls. Jax's arrest records are sealed at federal level, unusual for a simple assault case. His fingerprints are classified. Even his booking photo requires special clearance to access." "Federal protection?" Bull's lawyer asks during their weekly phone call. "Maybe witness protection. Maybe something bigger." Bull decides to force the truth through extreme escalation. He announces special entertainment for the entire prison, forcing Jax to fight Ricky Pitbull while wearing a dog collar live stream to his white supremacist network worldwide. Betting pools form instantly. Thousands of dollars change hands as inmates and online viewers wager on how quickly Ricky will break the prison monkey. Ricky begins training specifically to destroy Jax. The former amateur boxer practices with weapons, preparing for what Bull privately calls an accident with a blade. As word spreads through Oakwood about the upcoming dogfight, Jax meditates alone in his cell. He performs shadow boxing in slow motion. Each movement perfect, deadly, beautiful. The routine reveals glimpses of his true skill level to Mike, who watches in growing amazement. Bull has no idea he's about to discover exactly who he's been torturing for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of systematic torture have brought Jax to a crossroads. Alone in his cell after lights out, he sits in meditation pose, staring at his scarred hands. Tomorrow's dogfight will either blow his cover completely or get him killed. Mike can't stay silent anymore. The Marine has watched his cellmate endure inhuman abuse with discipline that defies explanation. "I know you're not just some street fighter," Mike whispers urgently. "I've seen Spec Ops guys with less control than you show." He produces a newspaper clipping hidden in his mattress. A faded sports page showing a shirtless fighter mid-strike. The headline reads, "The Shadow MMA legend disappears after tragic death in ring." Mike holds the photo next to Jax's face in the dim cell light. The resemblance is unmistakable. "You're him, aren't you?" Jax stays silent for a long moment, then slowly nods. "I killed a man, Mike. These hands are weapons. I promised God I'd never use violence again." "Sometimes violence finds you whether you want it or not," Mike replies. "The question is, do you let evil win because you're afraid of your own power? That monster Bull is pure evil. Someone has to stop him." Jax closes his eyes, visualizing his descent tattoo. The journey from hell through purgatory to redemption. Every humiliation has been a step toward justice. "I'll give them their show," he finally says. "But I do it my way. The Shadow's way. Minimal damage, just enough to survive, just enough to send a message." Outside their cell, Bull watches through hidden cameras, planning tomorrow's accident that will eliminate his suspicious prisoner forever. The prison yard transforms into a coliseum. 400 inmates form a massive circle, while Bull's crew sets up professional cameras at multiple angles. Guards are mysteriously absent. Bull has paid them to disappear for the next hour. Bull operates the live stream himself, already broadcasting to 100,000 viewers on white supremacist networks. Donations pour in as racist viewers pay for premium access to what Bull promises will be the ultimate humiliation of a prison monkey. "Ladies and gentlemen," Bull announces through his megaphone, "welcome to Dogfight Championship. Tonight, we see what happens when animals try to fight real men." Ricky Pitbull Johnson enters the circle first, shadowboxing aggressively. At 6'2" in and 240 lb of prison muscle, he's covered in Aryan Brotherhood tattoos that tell stories of violence. The crowd chants his name as he flexes and poses for the cameras, weighing 240 pounds of pure white power. Bull continues his announcer routine, the undefeated prison boxing champion Ricky Pitbull Johnson. Ricky holds up an improvised blade for dramatic effect. 7 in of sharpened steel wrapped with torn bedsheet. The crowd roars approval. This isn't just a fight anymore. It's attempted murder disguised as entertainment. Bull's online audience explodes with excitement. Donations spike to $10,000 as viewers pay premium rates to watch what they believe will be a racially motivated killing. And in the other corner, Bull's voice drips with contempt. "Our house pet, our cleaning boy, our entertainment monkey." Jax walks slowly to the center, his movements calm and controlled. When he removes his shirt, revealing his championship physique and the stunning Jax's Descent tattoo covering his entire back, several older inmates gasp in recognition. "Holy shit," one veteran whispers. "That's the artwork from the old UFC promos." But Bull is too drunk on power and online attention to notice the murmurs spreading through the crowd. The contrast is striking. Ricky towers over Jax, flexing and taunting while brandishing his weapon. "This is going to be embarrassing, little monkey." "Bull told me to make it hurt real good." Jax stands perfectly still, breathing controlled, eyes focused. For those who know what to look for, his stance reveals everything. Weight perfectly distributed, muscles relaxed but ready, the posture of a master predator. "Kill him!" someone shouts from Bull's online audience, the comment appearing on screen along with a $500 donation. Ricky rushes forward with wild haymaker punches, trying to overwhelm with size and aggression. What happens next defies explanation to everyone except Mike, who watches from the crowd with growing amazement. Jax moves like water. Ricky's massive fists cut through empty air as Jax weaves between strikes so smoothly it looks choreographed. He never throws a punch, never shows aggression, just pure defensive artistry that makes Ricky appear amateur. The crowd falls silent. Even the online comments pause as viewers try to process what they're seeing. "How is he doing that?" someone whispers. Ricky grows frustrated, increasing his attack speed and power, but Jax's defensive movement only becomes more beautiful. A deadly dance that reveals decades of professional training to anyone watching closely. The phones recording from every angle capture the impossible. A smaller man making a heavyweight look helpless without throwing a single strike. Ricky tries a desperate uppercut. Jax steps inside the punch and delivers one surgical liver shot. Exactly enough force to drop Ricky to his knees, gasping for air. The precision is inhuman. "Get up!" Bull screams at Ricky. "Use the blade." Ricky pulls his improvised knife, lunging desperately. The crowd gasps as this becomes attempted murder on camera. What follows happens so fast that only slow-motion replay reveals the full sequence. The Phantom Strike. Move 1. Jax's footwork shifts him outside Ricky's knife thrust by exactly 2 in, close enough to counter, far enough to avoid the blade. Move 2. A pressure point strike to Ricky's wrist, delivered with surgical precision, causes instant muscle failure. The knife clatters away harmlessly. Move 3. A gentle tap to Ricky's temple, so light it looks almost affectionate, that shuts down his nervous system like flipping a switch. Total elapsed time, 0.3 seconds. Ricky collapses unconscious before his brain can process what happened. He simply drops like his power cord was unplugged. Jax stands over Ricky's motionless body, barely breathing hard. For a moment, the entire yard exists in perfect silence. Then someone in the crowd shouts the words that change everything. Holy, that's the shadow. The realization spreads like wildfire. Phones capture every angle as inmates begin recognizing the legendary fighter they thought had disappeared forever. The crowd erupts in chaos, some cheering, others backing away in terror. Bull's live stream explodes. Comments flood in so fast they're unreadable. Within minutes, the tour prison shadow trends worldwide as the video spreads across every social media platform. "Oh my God," Bull whispers, staring at his laptop screen as the viewer counts skyrocket past 1 million. What have I done? Guards flood the yard, but the damage is already done. Multiple angles of the Phantom Strike are uploaded simultaneously. Sports networks pick up the story within hours. The video that was supposed to show a racial humiliation instead reveals the return of combat sports' greatest legend. As Jax is led away in chains, the crowd parts before him with newfound respect. Mike catches his eye and nods. The message is clear. The shadow has revealed himself. But Bull's humiliation has only begun. In trying to destroy Jax, he's created the most viral combat sports video in history. Within 6 hours, #Prison Shadow reaches 10 million views and climbing. The world now knows the Shadow is alive. They just don't know why he's in prison, why he endured weeks of abuse without fighting back, or what other secrets he's hiding. Bull stares at his screens in growing horror as his ultimate victory becomes his greatest nightmare. Within 12 hours, #Prison Shadow explodes across every platform imaginable. The video reaches 15 million views by dawn. Every major news network runs the footage on loop. ESPN analysts break down the Phantom Strike frame by frame, marveling at technique they thought was lost forever. But Bull Harlan isn't finished. If anything, his humiliation fuels a rage that transforms into calculated revenge. Using his drug trafficking fortune, Bull hires the most ruthless legal team money can buy. Attorney Victoria Slade specializes in defending white supremacists and turning victims into villains. Her reputation for character assassination is legendary. "We're going to destroy him," Slade tells Bull during their first video conference. "By the time I'm done, the world will see him as a violent criminal who brought the cage-fighting mentality into civilized society." The $10 million federal lawsuit hits like a legal nuclear bomb. Slade fires in multiple jurisdictions simultaneously: civil rights violations, assault with deadly weapons, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and attempted murder. Her core argument is devastating in its simplicity. Jax Thompson used his body as deadly weapons against an unarmed victim, constituting premeditated assault by a registered human killer. The media narrative shifts overnight. "Disgraced UFC legend unleashes deadly force in prison fight," reads the CNN headline. "Should trained fighters be classified as human weapons?" asks Fox News. "The Shadow returns to haunt justice system," proclaims ESPN. Slade masterfully orchestrates the character assassination. She releases heavily edited footage showing only Jax's strikes, completely removing Ricky's knife attack. The medical reports she submits paint Ricky as an innocent victim of unprovoked violence. Ricky remains in a medically induced coma, though doctors privately tell Bull the unconsciousness is voluntary, a psychological response to trauma rather than physical damage. But Slade spins this into evidence of near-fatal brain injury. "My client may never recover from the devastating attack by this trained killer," Slade announces at her press conference, standing beside blown-up photos of Ricky's bruised face. The edited security footage becomes her smoking gun. Through careful manipulation, She creates a narrative where Jax appears to be the aggressor, stalking an innocent inmate before launching an unprovoked assault. Public opinion turns with frightening speed. Social media hashtags flip from #justice for the shadow to #prison monster. Death threats flood Jax's family. His elderly mother receives rocks through her windows. His sister loses her teaching job when parents demand her removal. Jax sits in solitary confinement, cut off from all outside contact. 23 hours a day, in a concrete box. He can only meditate and trust that his mission will ultimately serve justice. Agent Hayes cannot risk contact without blowing both their covers. Slade's legal strategy grows more sophisticated daily. She files motions to classify Jax's hands as deadly weapons under federal law, making any future physical contact attempted murder. She demands his transfer to a supermax facility designed for terrorists. This individual represents a clear and present danger to society. Slade argues before federal judges. His martial arts training makes him equivalent to someone carrying concealed weapons at all times. The precedent would be devastating. If successful, any trained fighter could be charged with assault for defending themselves in any situation. Bull revels in his legal victory, giving tearful interviews to sympathetic media outlets. His performance would earn Emmy consideration if it weren't real life. "That man destroyed my friend's life," Bull tells Anderson Cooper. Crocodile tears streaming down his face. Ricky was just trying to defend himself from a trained killer who came here looking for trouble. The interview goes viral. Bull receives thousands of supportive messages from viewers who see him as an innocent victim of celebrity violence. Behind the scenes, Bull's corruption network works overtime to support the false narrative. Corrupt guards destroy evidence of the knife attack. Paid witnesses change their testimony. Security footage mysteriously develops technical glitches that erase crucial moments. Mike becomes Bull's next target for snitching. 3 inmates corner him in the laundry room, beating him unconscious with improvised clubs. He's hospitalized with a punctured lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. The message to other potential witnesses is clear. Stay silent or join Mike in intensive care. Federal prosecutors unaware of Jax's FBI status prepare additional criminal charges. The case file grows thicker daily as Slade feeds them manipulated evidence. Jax faces an additional 25 years for assault with deadly weapons. Agent Hayes watches helplessly from her counselor cover as the legal noose tightens. She cannot reveal Jax's FBI status without destroying a 4-year investigation into international drug trafficking. The Vex cartel operation is too important to sacrifice for one agent, but Slade's investigation begins uncovering details that make Bull nervous. Her team's background research reveals inconsistencies in Jax's arrest record that don't match a simple bar fight. The sealed federal files raise questions about witness protection or federal cooperation. Why would a street fight require this level of security clearance? Slade asks during a strategy meeting with Bull. Bull's paranoia spikes. If Jax is federal, the entire drug operation could be compromised. He needs the legal case to proceed quickly before investigators dig too deep into his own activities. The tribunal hearing is scheduled for Monday morning. If Slade succeeds, Jax will be transferred to federal supermax within days, effectively ending any chance of completing his mission. Bull arranges for Jax to be moved back to the general population the night before the hearing. Officially, it's for transport logistics. Unofficially, Bull plans one final accident to eliminate the threat permanently. 3 inmates receive payments of $5,000 each to ensure Jax doesn't survive until morning. Shanks are distributed, alibis are prepared, but Bull makes one crucial mistake. Agent Hayes, monitoring all prison communications through FBI channels, discovers financial transfers that reveal Bull's true operation scope. The drug network isn't just state-level. It's international, involving Russian cartels and Mexican distributors. Jax's mission has uncovered something far bigger than anyone realized. As guards escort Jax back to the general population for his final night, he overhears casual conversation about the accident scheduled for dinner time. The Shadow walks into what everyone believes will be his last meal. The federal courthouse erupts with media chaos on Monday morning. News vans line the streets while protesters wave signs reading, "Lock up the Shadow and justice for Ricky." Bull's legal team has orchestrated a circus that puts the spotlight exactly where they want it. Inside courtroom 7B, Judge Elena Vargas presides over what promises to be the most watched tribunal hearing in recent history. The gallery overflows with reporters, Bull's white supremacist supporters, and curious onlookers drawn by viral fame. Bull enters in a wheelchair, wearing a neck brace he doesn't need. His performance has been rehearsed for weeks. Attorney Victoria Slade wheels him to the plaintiff's table while photographers capture every angle of his traumatic injuries. Jax sits alone at the defendant's table, having refused court-appointed counsel. His orange jumpsuit contrasts sharply with Slade's expensive suit and Bull's theatrical medical props. To observers, he appears defenseless against the legal juggernaut array against him. Slade begins with devastating precision. She presents the edited security footage that shows only Jax's strikes, carefully removing all evidence of Ricky's knife attack. The judge watches in silence as the video portrays a one-sided assault by a trained killer on an innocent inmate. "Your Honor," Slade's voice rings with righteous indignation. "The defendant used his hands as deadly weapons against my clients. His martial arts training makes him equivalent to someone carrying concealed firearms at all times." The medical testimony comes next. Paid doctors describe Ricky's severe traumatic brain injury caused by Jax's vicious assault. They recommend lifetime care and monitoring, inflating the damage to support the $10 million lawsuit. Bull takes the witness stand for his Oscar-worthy performance. Tears flow on command as he describes being terrorized by a trained killer who threatened the safety of everyone at Oakwood Penitentiary. "I tried to be friendly." Bull lies smoothly. "But he was looking for trouble from day one." You could see the violence in his eyes. Ricky was just trying to protect the other inmates when this monster attacked. Slade presents witness after witness, all paid or intimidated into supporting Bull's false narrative. Their testimony paints Jax as an aggressive predator who stalked Ricky before launching an unprovoked assault. The evidence appears overwhelming. Jax faces not only the $10 million civil judgment, but additional federal charges that could add 25 years to his sentence. Slade has constructed a legal masterpiece that seems unbeatable. Judge Vargas calls for recess, clearly troubled by the apparent evidence of premeditated violence. In the hallway, reporters speculate about Jax's inevitable conviction. But when court reconvenes, something has changed in Jax's demeanor. He rises to address the court with quiet confidence that surprises everyone present. "Your Honor, I don't deny my skills or the damage I caused," Jax begins, his voice carrying through the silent courtroom. But there's one element missing from this carefully constructed story. He turns to face Bull directly across the courtroom. "Tell them about the weapon, Bull." Slade objects immediately, but Jax continues with surgical precision. 7 in long, made from a cafeteria spoon filed to razor sharpness in the machine shop. Handle wrapped with torn bedsheet from cell block D, hidden in Ricky's waistband for 3 days before the fight. Bull's face flushes, but Slade coaches him to remain silent. They've prepared for this desperate defense attempt. "Where's your evidence?" Slade demands. Pure speculation from a convicted felon trying to avoid responsibility. Jax reaches into his jumpsuit pocket, producing a small recording device. "I have something better than speculation." The courtroom erupts. Slade shouts objections while Judge Vargas demands order, but Jax has already activated the device. Bull's voice fills the courtroom. "Use the blade." Kill him. Make it look like self-defense. The recording continues, capturing Bull's planning sessions, his instructions to corrupt guards, his coordination with white supremacist groups. Most damaging of all, his admission that the entire fight was orchestrated to eliminate a threat to his drug operation. Impossible. Slade screams. Where did this recording come from? How could a prisoner in solitary confinement obtain surveillance equipment? Judge Vargas studies the device carefully. This appears to be federal law enforcement equipment. Mr. Thompson, how did you acquire this? The courtroom holds its breath as Jax reaches his moment of truth. For 3 months, he's maintained his cover through systematic torture and humiliation. Now he must choose between personal vindication and mission completion. Because I'm not just a prisoner, Your Honor. The rear doors of the courtroom burst open. Agent Emily Hayes enters with a team of FBI agents, her credentials displayed prominently. Special Agent Jax Thompson has been working undercover for 8 months, Hayes announces to the stunned courtroom. This tribunal is suspended pending federal investigation into international drug trafficking and organized crime. The revelation hits like a bomb. Bull's face transforms from confusion to pure rage as he realizes the scope of his miscalculation. You destroyed everything. Bull screams, wheelchair forgotten as he leaps to his feet. Do you know who you're messing with? The Vex cartel doesn't forget. His outburst reveals the international scope that even the FBI hadn't fully grasped. Slade tries to control her client, but Bull's rage overwhelms his training. 4 years of planning, 60 million in product. You think this is over? Federal agents move to arrest Bull as he continues his confession, each word recorded by court stenographers and broadcast live on television. The Russians will find you. Every safe house, every identity. You're a dead man walking. Judge Vargas bangs her gavel repeatedly, but the chaos continues. Bull's white supremacist supporters realize they've been supporting a federal drug operation. Reporters scramble to capture every moment of the dramatic reversal. Slade attempts damage control, but the evidence is overwhelming. The edited videos, the paid witnesses, the medical fraud, everything unravels in minutes as FBI agents present their real investigation findings. The final twist comes when Agent Hayes reveals the ultimate scope. Bull's operation wasn't just supplying drugs. The Vex cartel was using his prison network to coordinate human trafficking, weapons smuggling, and money laundering across international borders. This case represents the largest organized crime takedown in federal history, Hayes announces to the media outside the courthouse. As Bull is led away in federal custody, he makes one last threat toward Jax. The shadow is about to become real. Come. You'll never be safe. But his words ring hollow. The man who thought he was breaking a helpless prisoner has instead destroyed an international criminal empire that took decades to build. Jax stands in the courthouse lobby, finally free to reveal his true identity to a world that thought they knew his story. The courthouse steps erupt in chaos as the media realizes the magnitude of what just unfolded. Jax Thompson, the legendary Shadow, emerges into blinding camera flashes. No longer the broken prisoner who crawled across a cafeteria floor 3 weeks ago. Agent Thompson, reporters shout over each other. How long have you been undercover? Why didn't you fight back sooner? Jax pauses at the microphone, his voice steady after months of enforced silence. Sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when not to use your power. Every moment of suffering served a greater purpose, dismantling an international criminal empire that poisoned communities nationwide. The crowd of 5,000 supporters who gathered outside the courthouse erupts in cheers. Signs reading, "We believe in the shadow and justice prevails," wave above the sea of faces. The same hashtag that once condemned him, Jeffonsugar Prison Shadow, now trends worldwide as a symbol of justice and redemption. Inside federal holding, Bull Harlan's empire crumbles in real time. FBI raids simultaneously hit 15 states, arresting 52 cartel associates and seizing $250 million in assets. Russian contacts are identified through intercepted communications. Mexican distribution networks face international warrants. Ricky Pitbull Johnson awakens from his voluntary coma to find federal immunity agreements waiting for his signature. Faced with life in prison or cooperation, he reveals the truth about Bull's operation, the forced knife attack, and the systematic witness intimidation that supported Slade's false case. "I was scared," Ricky admits to federal investigators. "Bull threatened my family if I didn't attack Thompson. When I saw what that man could do, I knew I was dead either way." Attorney Victoria Slade faces disbarment proceedings and federal charges for evidence tampering and conspiracy. Her carefully constructed legal masterpiece becomes evidence of obstruction of justice. The edited videos, paid witnesses, and fabricated medical reports earn her a place in legal textbooks as a cautionary tale. Oakwood Penitentiary undergoes immediate federal takeover. Warden Ellis and 12 guards face corruption charges. The facility implements shadow protocols, comprehensive anti-bullying systems, protection for vulnerable inmates, and mandatory respect training for all staff. Mike Rivera recovers in the prison medical facility where Jax visits him before leaving Oakwood forever. "I should have trusted you from the beginning," Mike says, his ribs still bandaged from Bull's revenge beating. "You trusted your instincts," Jax replies. "That's what made you a good Marine and a better friend. What happens now?" Now the real work begins. Bull's network reached communities across America. Every dealer arrested, every trafficking route shut down, every child saved from those drugs. That's the victory that matters. Mike receives early release for his cooperation with federal investigators. The former Marine becomes Jax's closest friend and training partner in civilian life. The personal transformations ripple outward. Ricky completes his GED while in federal protection, eventually becoming a speaker about the dangers of gang manipulation and the path to redemption. His story parallels Jax's journey, a warrior who found strength through surrendering violence. Dr. Emily Hayes receives promotion to head the FBI's new undercover prison operations unit. Her innovative methods for protecting deep cover agents become standard training for federal law enforcement. The statistics tell the story of systemic change. Prison violence drops 85% at facilities implementing shadow protocols. Recidivism rates plummet as rehabilitation replaces brutalization. Jax's sacrifice became the catalyst for nationwide reform. The Vex cartel's American operations ceased to exist. 4 years of patient investigation coordinated through Bull's unwitting cooperation destroys a criminal network that generated more revenue than most Fortune 500 companies. Bull Harlan himself faces life without parole in ADX Florence, the Supermax facility reserved for terrorists and organized crime leaders. In a final irony, he's placed in the same type of solitary confinement he arranged for Jax, but without the purpose that sustained the Shadow through his darkest hours. The international impact extends beyond America's borders. Russian authorities use FBI intelligence to arrest 12 Vex associates in Moscow. Mexican federal police dismantle distribution networks in 6 states. Interpol coordinates raids across Europe that net 89 additional arrests. But perhaps the most meaningful victory happens in a small community center in Chicago, where Jax teaches his first children's self-defense class since his fighting retirement. "Real warriors protect others, not themselves," he tells 30 young faces, looking up at him with wonder. "Your strength is a gift. Use it to defend those who cannot defend themselves." The children practice basic techniques, while Jax emphasizes discipline, respect, and the responsibility that comes with power. A wall mural behind them displays his philosophy. True strength serves justice. Real power protects the innocent. As reporters capture the moment, Jax reflects on his journey through hell and back to redemption. Every humiliation endured in Oakwood's yard led to this moment, passing on lessons learned through suffering to the next generation. Bull Harlan's racist empire, built on hatred and violence, has been replaced by something beautiful: hope, justice, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest victories require the greatest sacrifices. The Shadow has completed his mission. 2 years later, Oakwood Penitentiary stands as America's model rehabilitation facility. The transformation seems impossible to those who remember Bull Harlan's reign of terror. Where racial violence once claimed lives daily, inmates now participate in education programs, job training, and conflict resolution workshops. The numbers tell an extraordinary story. Prison violence has dropped 90% since implementing shadow protocols. Recidivism rates plummeted from 68% to just 12%, the lowest in American history. Former gang territories now house computer labs and trade schools. The change validates everything Jax endured during those 3 hellish weeks. Jax Thompson has become something he never expected. A best-selling author, When Shadows Strike Back, A Journey Through Hell to Justice, spends 52 weeks at #1 on the New York Times list. The book has been translated into 38 languages and serves as required reading in criminal justice programs nationwide. But publishing success pales beside his real mission. The Shadow Foundation operates from a converted warehouse in Chicago, providing free services that transform lives daily. Self-defense training, legal aid, victim advocacy, and mentorship programs serve 100,000 people annually across 15 states. The Foundation's statistics inspire hope. 95% of participants report increased confidence and 0 repeat victimization. Scholarship programs fund 1,000 disadvantaged youth annually to pursue martial arts training focused on discipline and protection rather than aggression. Hollywood came calling, offering $50 million for film rights. Jax donated every penny to victims of trafficking and drug violence. The People Bulls network had devastated for years. The movie starring Michael B. Jordan became the highest-grossing sports drama in cinema history. More importantly, it spreads Jax's philosophy worldwide. True warriors fight for others, not themselves. Real power serves justice. The deadliest fighters are those who choose not to fight. The message resonates across cultures, inspiring similar foundations in 12 countries. Ricky Pitbull Johnson completes his law degree while in federal protection. The former Aryan Brotherhood enforcer now advocates for prison reform and inmate rights. His transformation from racist enforcer to justice advocate mirrors the broader changes sweeping American corrections. Jax saved my life by showing me another way. Ricky tells congressional hearings on prison reform. Violence was all I knew until I met someone stronger than hate. Agent Emily Hayes' research yields groundbreaking discoveries about hidden talents in prison populations. Her studies reveal that 35% of inmates possess valuable skills that could aid rehabilitation if properly identified and nurtured. Her methods become standard practice in progressive correction systems. The international impact continues expanding. The Shadow Act passes Congress unanimously, requiring anti-bullying protocols in all federal facilities. 15 countries implement variations of shadow protocols based on Oakwood's success. The International Prison Reform Alliance forms to coordinate global efforts. Mike Rivera manages the Foundation's Veteran Outreach Program. Former Marines, soldiers, and sailors find purpose, helping at-risk youth develop discipline and self-respect. The program operates in 40 cities with waiting lists thousands long. Bull Harlan remains in solitary confinement at ADX Florence, serving multiple life sentences. The Vex cartel never rebuilt their American operations. Russian contacts were eliminated or imprisoned. Mexican distributors found legitimate businesses more profitable than crime. But the most profound changes happen in unexpected places. A young girl in Detroit walks home safely because foundation training taught her awareness and confidence. A bullied teenager in Phoenix finds strength through martial arts philosophy. A former gang member in Los Angeles chooses mentorship over violence. These individual transformations multiplied daily, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond what any single fight could achieve. If this story moved you, share it with #ShadowJustice to spread awareness about second chances and the power of purpose over violence, Jack says from his foundation headquarters. Have you faced impossible odds? Do you know someone fighting their own battles? Shadow Warriors Foundation provides free resources, training, and support. Links are available on our website. Subscribe to Blacktail Stories channel for more stories of hidden strength overcoming injustice. Comment below, how will you use your strength to protect others? Remember, every person has the power to choose justice over revenge, protection over aggression, hope over hatred. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who chooses peace, not from weakness, but from unshakable strength. The final image shows Jax teaching that children's class. 30 young faces learning that real power serves others. Behind them, the mural glows in afternoon sunlight. The shadow moves among us still in every act of courage, every choice for justice, every hand extended to lift others up. Dedicated to all who suffer in silence, and to those who find the courage to transform pain into purpose. The Shadow's greatest victory wasn't defeating Bull Harlan. It was proving that even in humanity's darkest places, redemption remains possible for those brave enough to seek.